learned a lot of lessons in the last 6 months after the acquisition of Thompson Center from Smith & Wesson. But it really boils down to 3 things: time, money, and organization. Everything has taken twice as long as we anticipated it would, but that's not a bad thing because our commitment to quality and service and the perfection of the design of the part. The money, that's just an investment. We knew we had to make that. The investment in the CNC equipment, the investment in great people, the investment in technology and ERP systems, and then the organization was something that was overwhelming that we did not anticipate. 4 million parts coming in and figuring out how all of these pieces are going to come together to relaunch the Icon and the Encore and the Contender and the Triumph and all the great guns that Thompson Center's made over the years. So we're going to start here and show you our investment, the money side of what we've done with bringing in new Eurotech CNC machines. So we've got over $1 million invested in new Eurotech CNC machines that are going to profile turn, they're going to chamber and do all the lug work. Charlie's setting all of the technology up now. What's that going to save me?
Well, it's going to save you, the biggest thing it's going to save you is labor. It's going to save you a reduction of your steps through your process so that you can ensure part quality faster with less labor and potential issues.
So you think we're going to have a higher quality part investing in this technology?
Absolutely. Yeah, the technology will allow you to control your process very precisely. The reduction in multiple steps will ensure part quality because every time you handle a part, you'll have increased errors, difficulties, you'll have more whip, more work in process. Yep. So all of a sudden when you have an issue, you have issue with all different workstations instead of having it all done in one area where you can machine it in one step, inspect it in one step, and then go to the next process.
One of the big advantages that we have in this acquisition of TC is the fact that we have a blank sheet of paper, right? We don't have any existing equipment and tooling, so now we can go out in the marketplace. What is the best equipment today? So it's not the equipment that was running 15 years ago, 10 years ago. That technology has changed considerably. And making that investment now is ultimately going to make a better gun. One of the advantages that we have, that we've reacquired with Thompson Center, are all the relationships. So Charlie's been making parts for Thompson Center for
2001.
Right. 23 years he's been making parts like the Encore lug right here. So when you get restarted, you can take the institutional knowledge, right, which helps organize the process, and now we can move faster. Charlie knows the quality of the part, what the throughput is, and then also where the problems are going to occur. So all the years of making these parts are coming full circle to give us the best part possible. As you can tell, there's a lot of steps we got to organize to bring everything together. The barrel really is the heart of a firearm. Whether it's a handgun, rifle, muzzleloader, this is really what Thompson Center is known for. The investment we're making in this technology to bring the best barrel to the marketplace is absolutely a must. That is a commitment that we're making. But there's so many other parts that have to go into the barrel, into the receiver to make a complete gun. So now we're going to go take you to the warehouse and show you what 4 million parts look like. When we were Smith & Wesson and you looked at all the parts, we were looking at parts in a facility that was 500,000 square feet. So we had all of this space, and I didn't know what were TC parts, Smith & Wesson parts, but now that everything's consolidated under one roof, it's really a daunting task from an organizational standpoint, because every one of these parts now has to be categorized, has to be checked for quality, and then has to be put into the system so we know what parts mate with what. Because think of all the gun lines for all the years. A lot of the parts that we received back were shipped from Rochester to Smith & Wesson in Springfield. Then obviously new parts, new guns came out, and then everything coming back. So we have vintage Hawken parts that were made probably in the 90s. And then obviously new guns, the Compass, the Venture, the Dimension, a lot of those parts have come back. So every one of these parts, 4 million of them, have to be gone through and made sure that they now meet the specification for quality to be put in the new TC guns.
All these parts that Greg was just talking about have been categorized into different locations, these bin locations. So if you look at the bins, they'll have an H on them, and then it'll correspond with the first level, which is floor level, second level, and third level. Those actually just tell us where the parts are. The parts, if you look at some of the boxes, they could have 10 different parts in them. When I say parts, it's could be 1,000 screws, one part number. It could be all kinds of things like that. So we have to go through, as Greg said, we have to go through, get the inventory into our system, so we know where the location is, so we can start drawing the parts back in and start manufacturing with them.
It's all valuable. It's going to help us with speed to market, but it's just a giant jigsaw puzzle now of identifying what parts are now missing and what parts are now good and how all those parts mate together. But we'll walk down the aisle, see all those parts that we own. This is the mixed bin of parts. Sometimes you wonder if it's easier to start over than it is to go through all this stuff. Oh my God, look at that. G2 receivers.
Partially machined, right?
Partially machined. So when Smith & Wesson decided to stop production, they literally stopped while parts were being machined. They didn't run parts out. They didn't finish operations. It's like they came back from lunch one day and just hit the stop button. So now we got to go through and figure out what operation we have to pick up at to finish these. As you can see, these are usable. I mean, there's no finish for the bushing and the firing pin. So these aren't controlled receivers, obviously. They're not in a controlled location. But no, we got to go pick these parts up because these are valuable. These are probably have gone through first op from the casting, and now they got to go through second, third, and fourth op. But one screw, if it's missing, will stop the relaunch of the Encore or any other finished parts. So it's taken 6 months to get everything from Smith & Wesson to Rochester. And I just remember sitting on these meetings every week with Carl, and it's frustrating because we felt everything should be done in 2 or 3 months. And realistically, it needed to take 5 or 6 months because everything had to be pulled out of Smith, had to be categorized, had to be shipped up, that we had to receive it. And how many trucks were we receiving a week?
Tractor trailer trucks full of equipment and parts had to come up here and be unloaded and put into these bins.
Right. 30 tractor trailer loads, receiving 2 or 3 a week for all of these weeks. And of course, it was the summer months and Smith had shut down and there's vacation. So, it would ebb and flow. But once you see all these parts now, you realize why it took 6 months. So lessons learned from the acquisition of Thompson Center from Smith & Wesson is that organization is key. All of this, all of these parts, all of these aisles represent opportunity. They don't represent something that we can sell now. This represents the future. And it's overwhelming. It's going to take time. We're going to have to weed through all of this. But at the end of the day, all of these parts will end up in the field and become an experience for somebody in the future. We've accomplished a lot in 6 months. These barrels here, brand new off the line chambered in 360 buck hammer. We have 350 Legends, obviously 300 Win Mag, 270. But all of this is coming together in this assembly department. On the other side of this wall was the machining of the Encore receivers, and then all of the production comes together here. I just put this gun together. This is brand new Encore. You can see the new logos on it. New Encore on that side, new TC mark. It has some internal parts a little different as well. Fantastic trigger pull on this. Threaded muzzle as well for a suppressor or for a brake. A lot has occurred throughout these 6 months that we have learned a lot of lessons. We've made a lot of investment in time and money. The organization we've had to go through has been overwhelming. Has this been a labor of love? Absolutely. Has it been worth it? Without a doubt. It's been an incredible challenge, but we have a lot of great people working for this company, not only inside, but also with our suppliers. And I have to give every one of those people credit in their commitment to relaunching TC and putting the quality first.